Go. Hello. Yeah, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Weapon Balance Evaluated. I guess that's what it is. That was pretty smooth.
I think the title changes every time.
I don't think it actually does. I think in reality, it's just always been that, but we just can't. We're just indecisive. And here's what it is. It's for the February maintenance update. The home of weapon balance changes. Veritable hive of dynamic and exciting new builds and meta. Although that is actually like the most appropriate way to put it, in that no, there's not actually that many exciting changes, but it has changed some things in terms of what is actually better and worse, because it's literally all in the form of fixes, bug fixes, all of it, even the stuff that isn't armor breaking, of which there is some, and that's going to be pretty early on, and pretty later on. But for the most part, it is armor breaking. It's very focused on 3 weapons: the Hurricane, the PGL, and the Drac. But there is still a little bit. What I've done is we're just going to go through like every upgrade tier that has armor breaking on it. That's how I've decided this should go.
All right.
I hope that is conducive to a valuable evaluation of what the hell even actually changed in this update. Starting with, as always, in barrel vision order, the Engineer, and therefore the Warthog. The Warthog Auto 210, which you should be looking at right now, Tyler, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think you will be looking at now as well, everyone. There it is. There she is. Okay, so what changed about the Warthog? Nothing.
All right.
So tier 4 is the one with armor breaking in it. It's up against damage. This has always been one of the most equal ones. Now, something that I did that's going to be really helpful for us is that I actually kept the original numbers and I put them in red. And I'll just change them to black after we're done. I'm not going to change them to black on the fly, but I will still change the numbers. So this tier is literally just 3 and 3. I don't think it's changed. And that sort of tells you, that sort of gives you an idea of where this is going.
Yeah.
This video.
From the little I know, well, right, because obviously this didn't actually get affected by them fixing armor breaking, right?
Oh yeah, so there's two like versions of armor being fixed. Armor breaking was fixed, and armor itself was also. In the armor now scales with hazard level. And specifically on like heavier armor, which is the one that has health. Like heavy armor is the one that has a health value instead of being like a percentage chance to break. And now that health value actually scales, which is like a really weird conundrum where it's like that does technically make armor breaking better because it's worse, you know, where armor is harder to get through. So it's still harder with armor breaking than it was before, but it's much harder without armor breaking even still. At the same time, the Warthog is such a flexible weapon in that you can build it to be just hitting weak points and things like that, or just like a widespread like body shot weapon that I can't really justify changing the numbers. I think it's actually one of the most equal just armor breaking to damage tiers there is, because it works for the ways that you could build they work for the very few ways that you could build the Warthog, you know, the limited number of ways. I guess what you would... I don't know what you use with Stunner. I assume you use armor breaking with Stunner, right?
What's the other one?
I think that makes sense.
Like damage.
Yeah, to me, I would... Yeah, because I think Stunner's a body shot thing anyway, right? Where it's about how you can stun on body shots anyway. I kind of see it as like a weird, almost... Not crowd control, still like enemy control type thing. Anyway, I think you can justify it like with any situation, taking either one. Like even Psycho Overload that increases your spread. You know, it's really good if you just get out behind like a Praetorian or something and just unload into its ass, for which you're going to want direct damage, because arm breaking won't affect the weak point. So, I don't know, man. I can't really say that they actually changed that much. Against a Brundle or a Shellback, maybe, because...
Well, yeah, because obviously the mod didn't change at all, but how valuable it is in Hazard 5 has increased, right? Like
Yes,
that's that's why we're even talking about it essentially. But ultimately, with how the Warhawk works, it's not changed that much because you're never really supposed to be shooting the armor anyway. You can, and now if you want to be doing that in Has 5, you probably should pick the armor breaking, but it really doesn't make it any stronger of a thing to pick, really, does it? Which is probably going to be the case for a couple other things, I imagine. Um,
it's
but
going to be the case for most of these. I don't actually think it will be, and I think that's the point. And I want to see which ones, outside of the Drac, the Hurricane, and the PGL, where there is actually a change. And that could come next, but I think for now, I think 3 and 3 is once again still where that's at. So good job, Warthog, on being incredibly boring.
it's the one thing it's good at.
Well, no, it's good, and it's good at being boring.
Yeah.
It needs something to make it not boring. I think we're all in agreement on that, even if it's bad. I don't know. Oh, poor Warthog. Anyway, onto everyone's favorite electric secondary. It's not secondary. I actually a fumble there. Primary. The Stubby. Genuinely, my favorite engineer primary, at least at the moment. I hope that doesn't. I can't. I can't.
Oh, I didn't realize you were immortal. Apologies.
Yeah, I'm Captain Jack. I was thinking for a moment if I was thinking of a different character, but I wasn't. I was just thinking of Captain Jack. Harkness, not Sparrow. Although I guess in the first movie, Jack Sparrow was immortal. He was cursed.
Plus, he came back from the dead, so
Yeah, he
you
kind
can
of
do that.
didn't you get the? No, okay, let's not do. Right, so the Stubby actually had changes, and this makes me realize I should actually have the patch notes up, but I can just go off with what I've have flagged as red numbers to understand this. So it actually starts in tier 1 with the electrocution chance. So what this does, at least on paper, is bring your electrocution chance from 25% up to 50%. It didn't used to do that. What it actually used to do was make the Stubby roll 25% twice, which actually resulted in it being about 43%. So it was basically just wrong. It was a lie.
Yeah.
And I think, you could have communicated that. Like, that's not a hard thing to even just say. I guess it's because it's not the original intention. It was like a bug, but it could be like, oh, it gives you rolls again or something. I don't know. But now it is just a single 50% chance roll, which is objectively better. But the thing is, Tyler, this tier is already 3, 4, and 2. The electrocution being the 4. And I don't know if it can really justify going up.
It's still getting picked just as much as it was before, right? Like, when people didn't notice that it wasn't actually doing that as well, right? Like, you still felt the increase in electrocution chance, and it's gone up, but not by that much, really, right? Like, it's like what, 8%?
Yeah, well, a bit less than 8% actually. It's more like 6.4%.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, it's better, and yeah, they fixed a quite stupid
Well,
bug
Tyler,
slash
we'll
glitch.
think about it though. Think about it. Both of those 43%. I get that's an average. If it was rolling 25% twice, that's 2 chances with both 75% chance to fail. It probably wasn't as reliable even as 43% sounds. But now it's only ever a 50% chance to fail once. It's probably gotten noticeably better, but I don't think enough has changed in the sense that I still think there's enough reasons and build to take the damage mod in tier 1 to not. I was thinking maybe it could be like a 2-4-2 now, where the execution one is like the best in most situations, but even if it was, direct damage is actually a very viable way to go with the Stubby. So I once again, I don't think it's changed. And that's fine. Look, that's what we're here to establish. Okay?
If a bit dull, but yeah.
Listen, this video had to happen, okay? It's going to get better. It's going to get better, trust me. It's going to trickle down. We got I don't know, some weird overclock bingo thing coming up. I don't know how that's going to take form, but you can look forward to that because it's going to be noticeably more interesting than this. But still, we're still on the stubby. It's actually a lot on the stubby somehow, much to, I think, most people's dismay. Comes in the form of Tier 4, which is where the armor breaking mod sits. And this is currently sitting at a 3-3-2, with the armor breaking being the lower of the bunch. And I'm trying to figure out whether or not that's actually fair. Because I used to kind of see the conductive bullets one that increases your damage against electrocuted enemies as like the body shot modification, where it's like you take this so you don't have to hit weak points, but especially now the armor is stronger, you can't really, if you want to go for body shots, if you don't want to focus on weak points, you kind of need armor breaking. And frankly, I think armor breaking kind of suits like the AoE focused builds anyway, where you're kind of shooting enemies randomly, and it means, like, for example, if you were to go for one with lightweight rounds and like an electric arc thing, you have a lot of ammo to play with to just strip enemies of their armor as well as just create electric arcs. And then turret EM discharge, well, frankly, you should be using all your ammo to electrocute enemies anyway, so if you're going to be shooting at them, you might as well shoot them to break their armor. I don't know, I'm starting to think that the armor breaking on the stubby is possibly just equal to the other two. If anything, I do think the weak point one is the best of the three, which could incur some kind of strange change, which it could be, by the way, actually bringing this one down so we have a 3-2-2. I just thought of that. That might be more appropriate. But that seems a bit disingenuous to armor breaking technically having gotten stronger. So that puts me in a weird position. I don't know how I feel about 4-3-3. Oh god. So yeah, mass confusion.
Is this you need help? Because I really can't give much of the stubby.
I know.
I think
like,
they're all zeros.
What?
What
do you say?
They're all zeros.
They're all zeros in your book.
The stubby as a whole and Sakwa.
Okay, so I'll say this at least. I think the arm breaking one is at least going to go up by one. But I really do think that weak point one is the most valuable of these three, and I don't know if that incurs it going up. I would feel more comfortable, given that we're clearly not in a. Clearly, this video isn't going to have too many changing of numbers in it, so maybe we'll just leave that up to you, whether or not anyone actually thinks that that position has changed. Maybe they are all equal. I don't know. I think that's probably the best place to leave it, though, for everyone's favourite electric secondary, the stubby. It's not, though, because actually turret arc and EM discharge got changed. And in this situation, I am actually going to have to look at the patch notes, because I don't remember exactly what they did. I do remember what they did to EM discharge, which was that I think they changed it so that at certain angles it can actually occur when it used to not be able to. It used to be bad. It used to just not proc at certain angles. And there it is. Turret EM discharge is currently a 4. Against my better judgment, I want to say, by the way, because I know it's good, but I fucking hate EM discharge still. I don't think I was really like that harsh on it when we originally did this for like the November update, because I understood that it's like one of the best things on the stubby, arguably the best thing. I can't stand it though. I genuinely can't stand it. I hate the turret, both of the turret overclock. And that's why, by the way, I'm not even sure if I want to acknowledge the turret arc thing. I will, because I want to explain why it still sucks. So if you'll let me quickly find the actual patch note for that. Not the patch notes, that's just the Steam post, original one. Okay, here we go. Turret arc. Fixed a bug with the turret arc overclock where the electric damage bonus from Gemini turrets didn't cause any additional damage when used with some other weapons. So as far as I can tell, that's like electric damage bonuses, where things do more damage to electrocuted enemies. Which, already, how many things is that? Like, that's not going to improve turret arc situation at all. On the engineer himself, that's one weapon. That's just the shard diffractor. And on everyone else, well, not everyone else, just Scout. Scout has so many different ways to electrocute enemies to allow for those damage bonuses to occur. So, frankly, turret arc's not changing. It's still a 1, right? Because it was a 1. But EM discharge, does EM discharge get better? Well, frankly, it also doesn't, because I don't think we gave it its original rating based on the fact that sometimes it didn't proc. We probably didn't even notice that. So, sorry, EM discharge, you don't change either. You're still a 4. Once again, against my better judgment, because I still despise you. I acknowledge that it's gotten technically slightly better. God, I hate this. No, I don't hate the stubby. Can't tell. I'm beginning to think I might actually hate the stubby. I like my stubby builds. Okay, but that's about it. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Smart rifle. What changed on the smart rifle? Well, maybe more than you might think, actually, because smart rifle does have like an inbuilt higher armor breaking value than like any other weapon, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of odd. But I don't think we can really factor that in to anything that we're doing today. All we really have to talk about is the two things that kind of involve armor breaking, right? Which is armor breaking module, the most filler overclock on the planet, and seeker rounds, the thing that ignores armor. So where am I going with this? I don't know. I used armor break module a little bit like the other day, and I thought that's hasn't changed. It's still not great, but I guess it must be technically better. And I think it's a perfectly okay thing to use for, like, I don't know, body shots, and go for like the full lock damage bonus or whatever. Arm break mod. You really,
The thing is,
you really
is
sad.
armor break module is only worth using, like, in that regard if you're trying to be like a support team member where you strip the armor off enemies so then other people can kill it, right? That's the only service, because ultimately you do have an overclock that completely ignores armor, right? So you don't need to break the armor if you just use seeker rounds, right? Like, what's the fucking point? Isn't it, right? There is no point to be had with seeker rounds, whatever that fucking thing's called.
Yeah, and now like the PGL thing, if you want to do it, you actually can now. Where it's always like, I don't know if you agree with me, but the way the PGL like arm break thing, like the pressure wave, the way it was like sort of portrayed, it was like it's just supposed to be a thing that just breaks all enemy armor in its radius, and it does actually do that now. So if you kind of want that out of your engineer, it even actually, so the shard diffractor, we'll get to the shard diffractor, even that's changed a little bit in my opinion, so we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, the only thing is, okay, so I think that still leaves armor breaking module at a sad little 1, but seeker rounds is a 4. Now, here's the thing. Seeker rounds. Hasn't gotten less valuable. Has it gotten more valuable, though, with armor like in general getting stronger? Yeah, but it's definitely not a 5. But it's I think no. I was almost tempted to bring it down. Maybe it just justifies its 4 a little bit more. Like, I would say maybe it didn't beforehand. Maybe it's just a 3. But seeker rounds, to me, like, we have, I mean, I know people probably don't like the way that we have these things rated, because we have seeker rounds and executioner as 4s and explosive chemical rounds as a 3. I feel like maybe even you don't like that, because as far as I know, you actually kind of like explosive chemical rounds. But
one of the only good things.
Maybe one of the only good feeling things. Because I know that seeker rounds doesn't feel good. But I don't think we're going to be changing anything that isn't highlighted in red. So sorry, explosive chemical rounds. So yeah, I guess that means Seeker justifies its 4 a little bit more. I always feel awkward about that because I know that's an unpopular opinion. As far as I know, people don't really like Seeker rounds that much. But it's objectively good. So, get over it, frankly. Once again, I think it stays the same. And you know what? I love it when things don't change. And I mean that.
Yeah.
I'm also meaning in real life. I actually don't mean that in Deep Rock. I like it when things change in Deep Rock, but still. Moving on, actually, because I think it's actually there to get going now.
I think if we're doing literally nothing, we might as well do it quickly. I feel like there's an argument
no, because
there,
we're
right?
not doing literally nothing now because we're on the PGL.
Exactly.
Best friend.
So get to the PGL quickly.
Yeah. There it is. The Puggle. So, what changed with the Puggle? This got fixed. Pressure wave. And it's actually 500%. That's actually quite high. So, pressure wave was already the actually no, sorry. It wasn't ever picked. I was about to say it was picked with Fat Boy, but that's not true because it didn't work even then, and obviously high velocity grenades actually has a good use for Fat Boy. And I don't think that's changed either. I think that's probably still the best thing to do with it. But okay, so what have I actually done here? Because I know that hyper propellant got changed directly as well. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So I have the entire tier with the arm braking in it, like highlighted. I have hyper propellant highlighted. I also have RJ250 highlighted. And I think that's because I assume it's going to come down. Now, what actually changed about... Well, actually, we won't start with hyper propellant. I'll start with the actual tier. So, tier 3. Tier 3. Maybe one of the most controversial, but also not tiers in the game. It should have been one of the most controversial, I think, is our take on it. That people should be kind of upset at how skewered towards incendiary compound. Now, I think incendiary compound is still probably the best thing here, but we do actually have to factor in the changes. So we got 5, 1, and 2. Incendiary compound is the 5. This is the 1. High velocity grenades is the 2 because it's like okay, and it's what you should use with Fat Boy as well. That's why that is that way. But obviously the arm braking actually works now, and it feels okay with like normal builds, like just okay, like a clean sweep build or a pack rat build. But frankly, no one's using those anyway. But here's the thing: hyper propellant got changed so that incendiary compound actually does cut its damage in half. So
right.
Yeah, I think this is pretty okay. At the very least, I think incendiary compound, especially because with Fat Boy, it's always been the case that you don't use incendiary compound with that. I think we're at the very least looking at bringing incendiary down by 1 and pressure wave up by 1 as well. That would still be a 4-2-2. That's the thing. So still not particularly balanced. Because I still think if you're going for just basic crowd clearing, incendiary compound is still the best thing. And that includes with RJ250. But these things still make sense. And like I said, pressure wave does also work even in like a context of a normal build. It definitely weakens every enemy that it hits. The difference is incendiary compound is still just going to kill everything. I don't think they're still in the position of, pressure wave has no use case, because it definitely does in some like normal builds, and especially hyper propellant, because hyper propellant obviously no longer does incendiary compound really work with it, and you also kind of need pressure wave to get through armor, because hyper propellant, if you don't hit like the body, you don't do all that damage. It's such a waste. So that really gives pressure wave a very distinct use. So I think at least 4-2-2, at least. I don't think it would be wise to change it further. But I think something has changed here, like objectively. So that's what I'm thinking. Do I sound logical? That's what I need to say.
I mean, because I was gonna get into this. I didn't know about the fire actually not being as good with the hyperpropellant, and I thought that nothing has actually changed really. Because like with the normal build, right, that everyone uses, where it's got like all the ammo and the fire, like that's still gonna be that, right? You're still gonna use fire,
Yeah, and
right?
I'm still gonna like.
Um,
Well, what I did, I tried using the exact same build that I use. So I should actually, I'm gonna bring car back up, um, which is it's pretty similar to yours actually. I think it's just this. I think it's literally this. And proximity trigger. Yeah, I basically tried this except I swapped it to spike grenade and arm braking, and it was definitely still worse.
yeah,
Incendiary compound was so much better. I actually love this build for the PGL. It's so underrated as well. So yeah, I don't think most of the use cases have changed. I just think the difference is now like twos are things that are still on average not like that on the average amount of builds. The average varieties of how you can build the weapon are not the optimal
yeah.
pick, but they still have a use case, and it definitely does
No, yeah.
now.
It's become a two, but it's still like yeah. It's just now with hyperpropellant, you would use that. With Fat Boy, you would use the speedier one, right? Which makes that a two, and it's just like, but anything other than that, you're gonna pick fire, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which in all fairness,
Well, hold
this
on, because the reason
five,
why hold on, because I think it still doesn't sound great, but I think two works in the sense that you know you should be able to, in my opinion, you should be able to use a basic like clean PGL build without incendiary compound and not feel embarrassed. And I think you almost can by taking arm breaking. You can almost like go for like clean sweep with like built for like high damage and take arm breaking. You're not a detriment at least. So I think that still justifies. I think that's still in the suboptimal category, but I think it's quite firmly out of being completely useless. I think it's very firmly escaped that realm at least.
yeah.
So
But I this is we did. I don't know who mentioned this thing exactly, but like they patched they finally fixed armor breaking, yet it's still not really that good, right? And that's kind of the situation we were vaguely hoping for, because then it should make them realize that fire, is a bit overwhelming. My thing is they might have already noticed it, and that's why they patched that other bug, right? That they're more than happy to let fire be good on like the RJ250 build or whatever. Um, but like fire is now not useful for those unstables, right? So that might have been their way of kind of dealing with it. In that fire is just gonna be what the normal PGL has to use basically to get by, which I don't know. We'll see. Is either they this was a purposeful choice and they are accepting that fire is just going to be how it is, or maybe now they might expose that you know people are going to be switching to the armor breaking, trying it out, and then realizing how much worse the weapon is, right? And then like, maybe enough people do that to where they might try and sort something out.
yeah,
But
but I
I
still
think
think
we'll
we got the right numbers there. 422 is probably what they. Do you have a cat on your lap right now?
I did.
He was
He
quite
went low.
audible. So okay. Anyway, I also highlighted obviously, like I said, RJ250 and hyperpropellant. Hyperpropellants are free. I think that should stay the same. I think that's just more justified now in sort of being the way things are. But RJ250, I think, can come down to a 4 as well. Like Incendiary Compound and RJ250 should probably both come down from a 5 to a 4, I think. I think it's a bit more balanced now in like the three main ways you can take the PGL. A bit more balanced, especially hyperpropellant. Um, we already have clean sweep at a 3. So I think RG250, it's not really a 5. It's still very good, and especially with like it is still pretty much objectively the best way to build for crowd clearing and gives you that utility of rocket jumping. So it's still overall the most optimal, but it's not like a pain. It's not painfully dominant. Um, so I think both Incendiary Compound and RJ250 should get the same, essentially the same. One goes from a 5 to a 4, the other one does as well, I think. But High Propellant stays at a 3, I think. It's just more justified. So I think we're happy with that. That was actually not too hard. Thank you, PGL. And I don't think it's going to be particularly hard from here on out either, because going to move on to Gunner, which should be pretty simple at least. Well, actually, no, sorry, but not. I forgot about the other two engineer secondaries. Somehow. Apologies for that. So yeah, Breach Cutter. Yeah, Breach Cutter. So what changed on the Breach Cutter? Well, it's only one. It's only one upgrade, isn't it? Which is just arm breaking in tier 4, and I think that's all. Yeah, it's literally just that. And do you know what it is currently? It's a 3 and a 3. Whoa! And frankly, not even particularly high arm breaking. It's only 200%, and this stun thing's always been pretty good. So fuck it. Moving on.
Nothing's changed. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, this is actually a little bit more interesting. The Shard Diffractor. Okay? Shard Diffractor. You might be thinking, what could possibly have changed about the Shard Diffractor? Well, allow me to tell you. So obviously you're looking at tier 4, you're thinking, Harry, didn't you put those as a 5 and a 1? And I would say, yes, we did. It's actually a 5 and a 2. Why is it a 2? Okay, whatever. I guess it's a 2 now. But I realised something in that, given how it felt, especially I mean, I've discovered this build I actually really like, which is a clean AoE build, which I never thought I'd come across, which is just like that. And you know what? Feels pretty good. If your objective is not to set enemies on fire, armor breaking is perfectly valid. I still think, especially in the context of where you have a lot of ammo, like I think Fast Quick Catalyst is a very ammo efficient AoE option. Same with actually Volatile Impact Reactor, so I think in those cases, being able to ignite enemies quicker is good, because you still have enough ammo to justify using it as a single target weapon as well. But if you're going purely for AoE, like with something like what I just showed, and like Feedback Loop, for example, arm breaking feels actually really nice. So, and it does help as far as I can tell, damage-wise. This might be the same, though, as what we just did with the PGL. Because, like I said, this arm breaking mod was already at a 2, and what I mean by that is, I was expecting it to be a 1. I thought it was a 1. I thought that's what we did last time, but apparently not. But I think 2, it might be a bit of a high 2, but I think, like I said, this might just be the PGL again, where the fire one could come down to a 4 instead of a 5, and that's probably it. Rather than this actually becoming optimal, it's just the case that it now has use cases, which stops, you know, the 5 from being like the term I use, painfully dominant. So pretty, you know, not much to say, but I think it's still interesting that I think that actually has changed a little bit. Where the fire, my take is that the fire should come down to just by 1, from a 5 to a 4. That's it.
I agree.
Thanks.
High 5.
High 5. I bet you can't wait to get to Driller.
I can. There's not much to wait for.
Anyway, we're not doing Driller yet. It's Gunner time. Oh yeah, Gunner time. Minigun. Right. Let me find the minigun. There it is. Minigun, aka just a good weapon. Good weapon. So, armor breaking on the minigun is in tier 3. And this is currently one of the most balanced tiers in the game, I think. And that reflects on our ratings, which are 3, 3, and 3. I don't think that's changed. Unlikely to have changed. Well, I was thinking about blow through. Hold on, does blow through work with bullet hell or not? I can't remember.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Wait,
okay.
bullet hell. Bullet hell's the one with the
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically that first shot creates 2 shots. One that penetrates through and one that ricochets.
Yeah, I need to use bullet hell more. But I'm kind of the position that that's probably the only really great case for blow through. If you're going for AoE or crowd clearing, you're probably going to be using bullet hell or burning hell. And for burning hell, I think the other two are better. But I'm probably not going to argue to lower blow through. I just think this is one of the cases where armor breaking is possibly the best thing that it has in the tier. Like, I don't think that might have always been the case. I think it feels really good on the minigun. The minigun just being a weapon that basically just does everything. And you know, it's not like it's in a tier that's competing with single target options anyway. So to be able to just make yourself better when you're just hitting body shots, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I don't know if I'm trying to say it should go up or not. I probably not. It's also not a high like armor breaking thing. In fact, I think it's going to stay the same because from my experience of using it, it was kind of like I noticed it. You know, I noticed that the enemy armor was stronger, even when I was using the armor breaking modification. Which obviously, based on that, it still is technically more valuable, but it's also one of the weaker armor breaking mods in terms of how much it adds. Basically, it stays the same. I think.
Alright.
But at least we know that. At least you've established that. Yeah. I think it's a fairly simple one. 3, 3, and 3, which is nice. Nice to have that. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Thunderhead. So Thunderhead. It's pretty similar. Although I can't remember what our numbers are. That's the thing. So it's tier 4, but it's literally just unbreaking or AoE. Okay, so it's actually a 3 and a 3. And so it's really just a case of what you use with what. And it's usually like, you know, Big Bertha armor breaking. Neurotoxin payload is the kind of one that blurs it a little bit, but actually no, Neurotoxin you're definitely going to use shrapnel round. Combat mobility, armor breaking, composite drums, armor breaking, splintering shells and carpet bomber. Radius. It's split. It's still a perfect split. In fact, it goes like this: armor breaking, 1, 2, 3. AoE, 1, 2, 3. Well, that does it, doesn't it? I think that kind of makes the point that nothing's changed. Which is fine because once again, we're in a situation where the next weapon is one of the ones that got hit harder. So that's fine. To have very little to say about the Thunderhead, unless Tyler has some magic nuanced take. Doesn't, by the way.
The Thunderhead is good.
Okay, that's actually pretty nuanced. Surprisingly nuanced, actually. It gets far too much shit. The Hurricane, aka probably the weapon that I gave I just didn't give enough respect to just for the longest time. I think the Hurricane is fucking cool and I like it a lot. So what changed on the Hurricane? Well, a lot, because the Hurricane is one of the projectile weapons. And it is obviously projectile armor breaking that got the primary fix in the form of its second tier of upgrades primarily. And I think that is actually the only ones I have highlighted, but it's still going to be important because this is currently a 4 and a 2. Bigger jet engine adds velocity and turn rate, is very noticeable and very useful. And arm braking is only 100%. That's really low, actually. That's a very small increase compared to other arm braking mods. So the difference here is not inherently that it's gotten much better. It might have done. It's just the fact that it actually works now. But this might be a case of, does that actually mean anything? Maybe not. The very original like I guess theoretical use case for this was with jet fuel homebrew, where if you take this and direct damage instead of ammo in tier 1 and arm breaking, you can 2-shot body shot a grunt. But frankly, just in like the chaos of like just the gameplay and the combat, that is not something that's going to stand out. Basically, what I'm saying is it's not actually that good. And it's kind of what you were getting at earlier, I guess, in that just because it works doesn't make it good, you know? So, and then just looking at the others, like even Mind Layer system, where it would kind of, I guess, make sense. But honestly, having the missiles actually reach the ground faster is genuinely useful. So I can't even necessarily say that. And then plasma burst missiles rely so much on turn rate anyway, so that you really can't justify it there. Fragmentation missiles, potentially. I think, just out of respect, we at least have to bring it up to a 2. And that's it. So literally the same as all the other ones, where it's like the PGL and the shelter factor. We got a 4 in one of the slots, and the arm breaking just so is lucky to be a 2 instead of a 1.
It almost seems like armor breaking as a whole is not that good.
What are you saying?
It's almost as if
giving you that
it's
impression?
it's as easy as not shooting the armor, like most of the time. At
Yeah,
least people are very used to doing that, right? Like, it's like, why sacrifice it so you can like shoot or ignore armor when you could get so much stronger if you can just deal around it, right? Like work around it. I don't know. It's a bit silly.
yeah, and that jet fuel homebrew breakpoint thing. It was always like, well, jet fuel homebrew, you're really meant to be hitting weak points anyway. Like, I guess this is useful, but it's also not. Sorry, like this is such a complimentary 2. I want to say the Drac is different. The Drac, that the tier when we get to that, the tier that the Drac has for arm breaking, very similar to the miniguns one. So that is actually going to be very different. I think that it's much more balanced. But yeah, poor little Hurricane can't get it up. Bulldog, nothing. Actually, nothing, which is good. We can skip it. Thank God. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the Burt, which is one of my least favorite activities, frankly. But you know, let's be okay. So let's actually, because you can look at that, as in, y'all can look at that as well. The tier with the arm breaking in it, and look what it's going up again. So I can't remember what the numbers are. Yeah, 2, 4, and 3. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I mean, who's not using ammo? I mean, I'm not with compact mags, and maybe some people are using weak point with lead spray. Although I think that's probably a really bad idea. I don't know, but I can't see the arm breaking getting better here. I think that's ridiculous. This tier is already this just isn't really where arm breaking should be on the Burt. It should literally be in the tier above. I think that would make more sense. So it's kind of just fighting a losing battle. It's already a 2, which is clearly where most of the arm breaking mods are going to be. So yeah, I think it's already where it should be. I apologize if you're expecting a more nuanced discussion from this. But in terms of weapon balancing, this wasn't the most. Well, actually, I think realistically speaking, this update was actually quite nuanced in terms of weapon balancing. That it was all quite indirect, but that doesn't make it interesting.
Yeah.
What's
especially when I don't give a shit.
No, coil gun, nothing either. Which means Tyler, it's driller time.
Driller time, baby. This is why I'm here. Let's go.
The cryogonal, Dragulagannon. Yeah. So what changed? What changed with driller? One mod on one
Let's go.
weapon. What was it, you ask? Well, it was the tier 5. It is. Fixed a bug with the Cryocannon's tier 5A fragile mod where shattered enemies didn't die as expected on high hazard levels. So you can use it on hazard 5. So what is it currently? It's a 2 and a 5. 2 and a 5. Damn. Okay. Fragile is pretty good.
Well, I think we might have different opinions.
Fragile's pretty good. I'm not saying Cold Radiance isn't overpowered.
That, yeah. I used it earlier today because Harry said that this could be at least one thing that I have tried out, which I think is fair. And I came out with the resounding, I wish I was using Cold Radiance right now. Right? Like, I'm sorry, but it's not good, right? Fragile would only compete with Cold Radiance if it was guaranteed to shatter every single time, other than like bosses. Like at that point in time, you could actually, it would actually be a choice. I think, like maybe like it'll be like a health thing, but it'll be like anything smaller than a Praetorian. But like the fact that it leaves anything behind just makes you think, I wish I froze them all quicker so I could deal with them like quicker and easier. Or like just like I don't know, it it's unremarkable the effect it has. That you'll freeze like I don't know 5 to 10 like grunts of various types, and then there'll be like 3 to 4 of them still alive by the end of it, and it's like hooray, uh, they are dead. But there's still others alive, so I've still got to switch to my secondary. Nothing's changed, right? And if my secondary is the wave cooker, it didn't matter how many it was, or the EPC, it didn't really matter how many it was. If I'm, using the Flying Nightmare, it's only really the Sabata that will thank you for not having to shoot so many
Well,
things.
thank you.
But like I don't know, it is just the effect it has is negligible, which I would say already out the gate. Like, it doesn't make much sense to pick it. It doesn't help you. You still have to switch to your secondary. There's just a couple less things to kill with it. Like, it isn't smart out the gate. And then you compare it to Cold Radiance, which literally, because this is like, I barely ever don't use Cold Radiance, right? I didn't realize how bad the Cryo Cannon's base freezing power was, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so
there
hold on. I
was.
want to. I think it should tell us what like Cold Radiance's freezing power is. Kind of. Oh, hold on. 60 per second. I mean, damn it. Okay. Keep up. I guess you can try and keep going. I'm going to try and figure out what that actually means. What freezing power actually is.
Like, you can get if you're going for freezing power, you can get up to like 11 to 12, but your average is probably sitting at about 10, right? So your beam is doing about 10. That does about 6 times that, I think. It is basically um incredibly strong. It is the main source of freezing power from the cryo cannon, arguably, which is something I don't like. It was a while now ago, but they made this point. It was Waste, and I think was it Lazy Maybe's tier list, where they basically said the cryo cannon is cold radiance, and if you should be doing everything in your power to make cold radiance last longer and be more reliable. And as much as I don't entirely agree with that, I completely understand the sentiment,
Okay, I
because
think
cold radiance
assuming what the numbers I'm
is
looking at here are correct. So let's go. Let's look at I guess base freeze power, which is 8. That is 8 per tick of damage. 8 cold per tick of damage. I don't know what the actual flow rate technically is. That's a percentage. Rate of fire is 8, so that's actually 64 per second, like by default.
okay.
So
So
it
it
starts
doubles
at
it.
that, and cold radiance is 60 per second. But the difference is, I think a grunt's freeze temperature is the difference. I think the grunt's freeze temperature is only 30, so you're already there no matter what. But it doesn't matter where they are. I guess is the
Well,
point.
that's the thing though. Is it isn't the grunts. I didn't play many games. I think I played 2 in the end. Because it was so fucking miserable. Like, but it wasn't the grunts that were an issue. It was the Praetorians. The Praetorians
I didn't
took
have that
way
issue
too
though.
long to freeze, and take a shit ton of damage before they freeze. Like, even though I was using, I mean, I wasn't using Tuned Cooler Freeze, but I was using,
I was
I
using
used
Toon Cool,
the
and I was shooting down through
one
them
that,
as well, so they got affected by the trail.
right, but like, nah, it's silly goofy. Like, I
Nah,
don't know. Fragile, yeah, nah, you shouldn't have to do that. Use
why
Cold
not?
Radiance and it's fucking instant. Dude, Fragile fucking blows. Like, it should be a 1. Fuck off. Like, you should
Tyler,
never
I
not
mean,
using cold radiant.
I
No, if you're not using cold radiant, you're using the cryo cannon wrong. You're simply incorrect. It is
so
the
hold on.
wrong choice.
What about Snowball?
What about Snowball?
Fair enough. No. Okay, this this is hypothetical. This isn't
What
me.
changes?
This isn't me, Tyler. But Snowball, that's not you shooting the gun that causes the freezing. But Snowball,
Sure.
you know, it does reduce your ammo.
Harry,
So chances are you're going to be pairing it with something else to actually clear them up.
Harry,
Anyway,
first things first, right? Snowball, you freeze a horde, and then with Fragile, like, we'll be generous and say 50% of them break, right? You still have to clean up the other 50%, right? And if it's a Mac Terror, it didn't matter either way, so don't bother bringing them up. That's like audience.
or you could just whip out,
But like,
I don't know, a wave cooker.
exactly, right? The amount doesn't matter at that point if you have the wave cooker, so it's like irrelevant, and it's just kind of like no, and like if you're Snowball,
Okay, yeah, because I was what I was going to say. Sorry,
still works normally.
I was
right?
going to try and
Better
make an
normally
argument that because like it is actually good for just clearing up like just grunts and shit on its own, like genuinely. But then I realized
yeah, but
even Ice Storm
it's
is
not
actually better at that, and you would still use cold radiance.
and
Like,
you would want cold radiant. Yeah, like
damn,
there
damn,
is
bro.
never a time to pick Fragile. Never, ever. Like
There is when you're trying to use it in preparation for a video, but apart from that,
yeah, and you have one of the worst times you've had as driller in a while, right? Like especially since I thought like maybe flow rate is a good idea for some reason, so I use that over clock, which fucking blows. But mainly because I thought it was every time you hit it after it's frozen, it's a chance to shattering it. But that's not it, is it? It's just when it freezes.
when a particle damages an enemy and brings it below 100 true HP, it has a 1-2. Oh, it has a probability to deal remaining HP as kinetic damage. That doesn't clear anything up.
So it has to be below 100 health, and then it will have a chance of insta killing it.
It should have like a chance to just deal that amount of damage whenever it's frozen, whenever an enemy's frozen. Like you could essentially just like tear apart a Praetorian with just a cryo cannon. But you sacrifice your ability to like freeze everything around you constantly. If it truly made the cryo cannon independent, it would work. But you know what makes the cryo cannon independent? Like almost is Ice Spear. Ice Spear and Ice Storm. Not entirely, but they still do it. Where you can still take Ice Spear and take Cold Radiance, and then you can just Ice Spear the big enemy you just throws and insta kill, and it's very self sufficient. Okay, so what are you saying?
I'm saying Fragile shouldn't even be a 2. I don't know how the fuck it got that high.
I noticed. Like, I don't think this was even deliberate, but I because like with all the other things, I actually no, I think it was deliberate. All the other things where it was like the arm breaking, I just highlighted all the numbers in that tier because I just assumed they could all potentially change. But in this case, it's Cold Radiance is still just. I didn't highlight it. It's just a 5 and in black. I didn't change it to red.
Yeah, because it wasn't going to change. Like,
odd.
but no, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't have the strength to fight you.
You should. Like, I genuinely think if you think Fragile is correct, then
Well,
that
sorry,
almost
I
devalues
shouldn't say
other
strength. I
opinions.
should say conviction because I'm not on Fragile's side really.
No one is. It fucking like sucks. It would have to be OP to even stand a chance. Like that's what I'm saying. And it is currently mid. Essentially useless, right? Like because you would still have to switch to a secondary. It doesn't solve that problem. If it solved that problem, it's a fair argument, right? Because that's a build then, right? You pick fragile, and then it's a cryo cannon that cleans up its own mess, and that's the choice you make
Well,
by
it's like
sacrificing your.
you don't really get away with being mid when you're going up against at least you know in the context of our ratings. When you're going up against a 5, a 2, you don't really get 2s and 5s. If there's only 2 mods in a tier and one of them's a 5 and the other one is below a 3, it's gonna be a 1. You know what I mean? You don't really get away with. You have to at least be balanced to be not be a 1.
Be picked once ever. Like
I'm sure someone likes fragile.
yeah, but they're wrong. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you can pick it, but it's a stupid idea and you gain nothing from it. Like, Harry, you could not
you
give me a
Harry.
scenario. You could not give me a build where Fragile is a good idea or better than Cold Radiance. Like, uh, it can't be done. Because, like, Cold Radiance will always be better and will always do more for whatever you want to do. And, or at least, like, Fragile will never, clear up its own mess in the way that you would want it to. And it's like, it doesn't even work better with, fucking Ice Storm because, Ice Storm pierces. It doesn't need you to kill 50%. Well, like, they're getting fragile, right? You don't need that.
I mean, we're on.
It,
I don't know if you're on the same side as me of like how Cold Radiance should be like a part of the weapon, and that the upgrade boost, like as in it should be like it should be split in half, and half of it should go to like just being part of the base weapon, and the other half should be the upgrade, um, like the freezing power,
probably, yeah.
because that way you still get the grunt freezing power like from Cold Radiance by default, but not as much against bigger enemies. And that includes swarmers. Like swarmers is actually very important. Like for Cold Radiance, like you just don't have, if you're surrounded by swarmers, don't really have to think about it, especially if they're not like the only thing. Because you're probably going to want to target the thing that isn't a swarmer. But they'll still just die anyway. Oh dear, poor Cryo Cannon. Poor Cryo. Probably going to go cry. Oh Cannon. Then what isn't crying?
Funny.
Any of Scout's weapons, because I don't know, man. Scout's been on like the up like forever. You know.
I do want to say one thing because obviously you didn't change it because it doesn't change anything individually, but the sludge pump is even stronger and better of a pick.
Well, I guess we could bring it all up by one.
I don't think we can give it
What would
more
that
sixes.
do? What would that do? It's not because there's no fives on it. Keep that in mind. But it would make it would create. Actually, the sludge pump's crazy. Like the ratings we have for it because it's all freeze.
Yeah, because
except for like
it's
three things. Hold on, I guess I
weapon.
can show you and the people on Carl quickly. Everything is a free except the ammo ones are 4. You can find everything is still a free in all the situations. The ammo ones are 4, and I think is it the 2 balanced ones? Oh no, it's hydrogen ion additive and Bursa compound. So this one and this one are 4s as well.
It's probably just more tape.
Yeah,
if anything.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense.
But like,
pump is a god.
Yeah, I don't think obviously nothing should change. I'm just while we're here, the sludge pump gets rid of armor. If you want to get rid of armor for your teammates, the sludge pump is now even better of an idea for that. Or it isn't any better at that, but now that idea is better of a thing to do.
It's harder for them to do on average.
Yeah, wanting to strip down armor is now a lot more helpful.
Does this justify the reintroduction of Ingredient X though? You remember that Ingredient X was the tier 5?
Yeah, I remember it.
And, well, yeah.
No.
Well, okay.
They removed it. Yeah, just stop talking. You don't think you were about to say.
Well, no, because what they did, they nerfed it and then added it to the base weapon. It's a little bit different.
Oh, but the armor breaking's already like enough that you melt any armor basically. Just shut up and get onto Scout.
The Jupiter. The GK2. Oh yeah. So the GK2 is, first of all, amazing. Second of all, amazing. So we already have this. Okay, hold on. It's already say 4 and a 3. That's nonsense. Armor breaking on the GK2 is, first of all, it's 500%, which is the highest it goes apart from armor break module on the smart rifle, which is, doesn't really mean much when that's one of the worst overclocks in the game, but still. It's a high armor breaking value. And it's good with, first of all, any overclock, almost including AI Stability Engine, almost. Only because AI Stability Engine is fairly punishing if you don't hit weak points. You could at least have it do damage when you don't, but chances are you're not going to miss weak points. but it is especially good with electrifying reload, which I already think is a fantastic overclock. In fact, it's one
Well,
of it's one of the fours alongside AI stability engine.
Yeah.
Basically, Tyler, what I'm
I
saying
think
is this tier is 4 and 3. I don't think the weak point overrides it. I don't think that's right at all.
Yeah,
They're the same.
with it being even stronger now, or the armor being even stronger now, it has increased. Yeah, I'd say they're the same because with the way that weapon works, right? The GK2, like not everyone is going to be able to hit the weak points constantly. Like I would say the Warthog, you kind of can. It's a shotgun, right? And it's pretty nice. Like it feels like it was made to hit weak points like properly. But the GK2 is a bit of a violent beast,
Yeah,
and it's quite
GK2.
difficult to handle.
Well, yeah, it's very
Unless
difficult to be like that kind of accurate at both like close and long range. You know, like at close range, you're kind of going to be panicking a little bit, and if you can do better when you're not again with body shots, that makes it better at close range. And at long range, you just have less chance of hitting whatever you're trying to hit anyway. You know, even if it's staying still. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, we already have it so that the two unstables are like both fours, and electrifying reload taking on rounds is a no-brainer and it amazing. So it almost sounds like it sounds quite skewered, but when you can actually get use out of weak point bonus, it's really good. Obviously, with any of them, like all 4 of these that go for damage or DPS, like if you can get weak point hit, yeah, I think it's equal, but it's a case where arm breaking is actually really good pick. Like, it almost makes me want to make it like a 4 and a 4, which doesn't make any sense, but nonsense.
You could bring it down 3 and 3, I think.
I mean, that's what it is. That's why I did do that because we pretty quickly agreed. The weak point 1 isn't better than the arm break, but yeah, and also I mean, just look at it.
Confident in your weak point hitting abilities, then that. But if you're not, then the other one, right?
I mean,
like,
look at this. This is all 3 and 4s except for clean overclock. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's compact ammo, and even that might not be very fair. But that's only because that's like an extra clean. It's already got 3 cleans. That's not much. It's a 2 as well. Like, god damn.
Yeah, I think the UK2.
I hate scout mains. They
get it so good.
They love this thing like for some reason instead of the other 2. Just amazingly designed weapons that sit on either side of it. Is it just because it goes ding? That's the only reason they like this thing. Fuck the M1000, but we've got to talk about it now. Because the M1000 is a prominent user of arm breaking. In fact, what is it? 4? Okay, so the arm breaking tier is 3, 2, 3. Which I think does make sense, but armor breaking, it's used when you first of all, why is it 220%? That's such a dumb number. It's probably because the M1000's base armor breaking is 30. Goes up to a nice 250%. Whatever. Obviously people use it with hipster, and also electrocuting focus shots, which isn't bad anymore. But also active stability system is very good because you already have increased focus speed, so it kind of just lets you just man. Good. Actually, probably the best thing in that tier. I guess focus speed works in any given build, especially super cooling chamber, like the most. But super cooling chamber is still bad, so I think armor breaking. I think it is the most popular choice in all like the meta uses of the M1000, all the good uses of it. So, I'm thinking it might actually go up to a 4. Just like a base. I might have said that before this anyway, before this update. Being realistic.
Is it you want me to respond, or are you thinking? You can't just say nah because I asked 2 things.
I don't know. I mean, what? I think I've got it. I think
what you've got. Write down your answer. Show you're working.
I am showing it. I'm showing it. I think the arm breaking on the 1000 is optimal. I think focus speed is still a balanced pick. I think the recoil is still the worst of the bunch. because literally, let's be honest, you're not hip firing just using hipster, and hipster sorts that out anyway. You know, so better weight balance stays as a 2. I can't be bothered to make it a 1. I don't think it's actually that bad. It's definitely not. Yeah, she does quite a few things, but the other 2 are much better. And armor breaking is the optimal pick, I think, in all like the best M1000 builds. Like, especially executing focus shots, which obviously doesn't increase focus speed, but you know, you kind of need to be able to hit enemies through their armor. Oh, you're not going to fight me.
I might, but not for this.
Oh, what for?
Just generally, I might come to your house and beat the shit out of you.
Yeah,
or
but
get the shit beaten out of you, beat your house.
You couldn't
but
do
that's
that.
not the point.
You couldn't.
You couldn't because I couldn't get there, or couldn't because you'd kick my ass?
I think it's that one.
Alright, well, we're going to have to do that.
No, we're
that's
not.
a members-only video. Become a member to watch me get the shit kicked out of.
Get the kick shit out of me.
Get the kick shit out of the kick.
There it is. Isn't it beautiful? I think it's beautiful. I love the Drac. So this is actually mainly focused on the arm breaking tier. In tier 4, we got Execution, we got Plasma Splash, the good Plasma Splash, and Destructive Resonance Amp. What a name. Plus 2% arm breaking. This is already a 3, 3, and a 3. And you know what? I think it's... Well, okay, so here's the deal. I think the Execution is actually slowly losing its, like, standing. Like, you know, like, when the weapon first comes out, it's like, oh, it's going to be, like, the elemental one. It literally just adds the Execution to the weapon. Obviously the best. And it is very good. It's at least a 3. And Plasma Splash is, like, optimal when using impact deflection and rewiring mods, and that's about it. Armor breaking, on the other hand, is really good with any of the unstables, I would say. And it kind of just stops there. As in, I think armor breaking technically has the most use cases that are like objectively better, where it's like an objectively better choice than the other 2. And I don't know if that makes it a 4 though. It might. I don't think any of them deserve to come down. I think these 2 at least stay as a 3 each. But armor breaking is actually really good on the Drac. In probably most situations as well. Like, it doesn't even have to be the unstables, I would say. I mean, even like aggressive venting, because it's just aggressive venting. I guess stripping armor at the same time as whatever you're doing is also good. Huh. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm gonna. No. Oh god, I don't know. I don't. It might just have to stay the same. I think. Well, this tier is already a 3, like just all 3s, and I kind of think that's how it is. But I think armor breaking is the one. I think it has more instances where it's the best option than the other options.
And that normally means it's better, hey?
Yeah, but that doesn't always bring it up by a rating. We do have like a little bit. Would you
say that the other ones are inherently worse or like bad in those areas?
In any of the situations, I think. Well, Plasma Splash is the awkward one. But Plasma Splash is bad when it's bad, but it also it dominates like it dominates the balanced overclock. So, but where you could use destructive, where you could use armor breaking, you could also use Electrocution, and it's also still good. Basically, this is a situation where armor breaking has more situations where it's the optimal pick, but the other one is still balanced.
Execution good.
The Execution is very good at using aggressive venting, just to like get as like turning the Drac into like a real crowd clearer, but you also get like the electric bonus, or like the Zukov or the other guy, and it's just a bit more damage over time. But it's also just good with any of the unstables, especially these 2. You know, not so much Overtune Particle Accelerator, because you kind of need to hit flesh to actually get the Execution, and if you're less accurate, that's not great. So I just think it comes out as just being very balanced, very nuanced as well. There's just a lot of flexibility. and you can justify using either one in a lot of different situations.
That sounds like a 3-3-3. Right?
That's exactly what it is. That's what it is already.
It sounds like we were wrong before then, or that nothing really changed.
No, we were right.
All right, then nothing really changed.
And we've always been right. The broomstick. The broomstick, without the R. So what changed on the broomstick? Well, more than just the armor breaking mod itself. I should point out, if I can quickly find it. Wait, is it not? It should be up here. Oh yeah, fixed a bug where the boomstick's improved blast wave mod did not deal damage to armor. Shockwave now uses radial damage instead of custom damage, so it should work against armor now. Doesn't change much, especially when the blast wave mod is in the same tier as the armor breaking mod. But let's just have a look at the values, I guess. Which I don't remember. This might have been one of the balanced tiers. Okay, so it says 4-3-3 with the blow through at 3. I disagree with that.
Yeah,
straight up agree, because the boomsticks kind of become a special powder aside. Boomsticks kind of become like, you know, just weird. You got like quite like direct single target damage ones with jumbo shells and shaped shells, where you're going to want to take I think this armor breaking, because I mean literally I like armor breaking because of how good it feels with shaped shells against Brundles. Like that's enough. Like it's such a good feeling, one-shotting Brundles, or almost one-shotting them. And then double barrel, you know, it forces you to take improved blast wave, and it's like a combo now clearer single target. And then there's also kind of compact shells, which could be a mix of all of them, kind of. But you're probably gonna take improved blast wave just to get like a bunch of like extra strong blast waves. It's kind of weird, but I think my like first impression of this situation is that it's more balanced than what we're implying. I don't think blow through is inherently optimal. And for me, it's probably it's the one I don't use out of the 3 as well. So I don't know what that means, but I know that it's definitely not a 4 anymore. I think it's at least a balanced tier, like overall. So really, it's just blow through that's throwing me off. Whether or not that actually gets used anymore, I guess maybe we wouldn't know.
I think that's an apt description. I don't know. I mean,
But I can definitely see it being used.
The double barrel, obviously, the blast wave one. But with the jumbo shells, I would put blow through, right?
Okay, I think that makes sense.
Make the most out of the minimal shots you have, right? I don't know. I think they're all still fairly equal. I mean, I know that we put that as 4 before, right? Like
the blow through's 4.
I think 3.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's become balanced, which is cool. The boomstick is slowly becoming a balanced weapon. So good on it, I guess. This is still a 2 apparently, which is fine. I think damage in tier 1 is also a 2. But yeah, I mean, boomstick's not bad. It's doing good for itself. It's slowly making its way up in the world. And by the world, we mean our opinions, I guess, which are fact when it comes to deep rock. Anyway, we're on to the last thing, which is the suck-offs. Oh, sorry, the Zukovs. Sorry. There they are. The things that have been slowly making their way down in the world. And I don't think that's changed particularly. I mean, listen, there's no armor breaking mod on the Zukovs. Okay, it's gas recycling. That's what it is. That's the only thing that's changed. Gas recycling comes with armor breaking built into it, so that's the only point of contention here. It adds 250% armor breaking. Okay, hold on. What is it? That's important. Gas recycling's a 3. I don't like it, and it's definitely not going up. So We might just be ending on a really just boring, nothing changes here. Hold on, what's Cryo Mantis a 2? I know why we did that. It's because we established that the Bolt Shark's Cryo Bolts just completely override its existence, basically. But that's still kind of weird. But yeah, I think gas recycling, it's definitely not going up. I still really don't like it. Pisses me off. I remember when it first got the armor breaking thing added to it, and I was so excited because that's what I've been asking for. But it's still bad. Still bad. To me, but I don't think it can. I don't think it can come down based on this update, which I guess makes it just a 3. And the Bolt Shark didn't, change in any direct way. I can't even imagine how it could have changed. I guess the fact that a lot of the stuff that it does ignore armor. There's something to be said there, potentially. Especially the fact that chemical bolts can hit an enemy from it. Right, if you hit. I don't know. But yeah, so that was the February maintenance update. All of its balance changes. Put it into a pot, and we got a very, very bland stew, I would say. But I made a promise that we would do this, and more importantly, that we would do this sooner than the last one. And we didn't know that it was literally all the weapon balancing was going to come in the form of fixes. That's not our fault. But that is the way the cookie crumbled. So deal with it. Yes.
All right.
So, well, hold on. I guess the actual takeaways though. Armor breaking, got veteran.
Well, they made it
better
more
not
useful, right? Like when they fixed the bug that made armor stronger, right? So you would have more incentive to use it.
Yeah, they made
which
armor. They made armor stronger, and they therefore made armor breaking technically more useful. But armor breaking upgrades, even if I think they all went up by 1 in the cases where they were a 1, they're still not good. And that's a very simple valuation of what we got, what occurred here today. But I think that is what it is. Literally, arm breaking. There's more reason to use it now, but unfortunately, in all the examples of where it is, or at least there's a lot of examples still where it's going up against things that still outperform it. Basically, some cases that isn't the case. A lot of the cases where it's like in a set of 3, it's not the case. Like with the minigun and the Drac, and the boomstick. But in a lot of the cases where it's going up against one other thing that's quite dominates the weapon quite a bit, it's not really changing. So I think that says something more about the mods themselves. But obviously, armor breaking in general, armor getting fixed in general is actually good. I don't know. Maybe the sludge pump benefited the most.
It often does.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like when you I love that thing. It's like that. Well, obviously the meme where it's like the guy's like writing and like the pen's on fire and whatever. Because what he's writing is so fire. It's like when you end a presentation with like, yeah. That's basically what this is. It's pretty obligatory, but this is a thing that we do now. We had to do it. I think I don't know. I guess we can talk about this a little bit now. I don't know how we're going to do it with season 5 inherently. I mean, I do, but I also don't. I don't necessarily know how we're going to do it for this series because we don't know how much is going to change. Like how much thought should we put into the other mods changing? Because of the new overclocks and things like that. I really don't know. That's actually quite a headache. Obviously they'll be added in, and we'll sort of go from there and give them their own, give the new overclocks their own ratings. But God, that might be that's for another day. That's a headache for another day. And I think now we just need to cut this head off.
Yep.
So,
thank you all.
Yep.
For watching. Apologies that they made a shitty ass update. Fucking ghost ship over here, working on season 5 instead of maintenance updates. But
What?
well, that's obviously, you know, they just released the maintenance update and now they're working full force in season 5. So I think we could expect a lot more, and that's obviously including the overclocks we know we're getting, but there's probably going to be other stuff as well, I would imagine.
Even if it's just a consequence of the overclock, you know.
Yeah, like there's going to be a lot of changes in the. I mean, there's going to be a shit ton of changes during the branch, right?
Well, yeah, the
early
experimental
access.
branch. I mean, a lot of it's going to be to the new overclock. Well, though, but still, there's going to be a lot.
To the new
changes.
overclocks, like stuff they didn't think of or notice with like other stuff as well. Like some mods are probably going to fucking break or some shit like that, right? Like, I don't doubt that there's going to be interesting things.
And I'm ready for it. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, give me at least 2 weeks. Give me at least 2 weeks. I'll be ready in 2 weeks.
It's been long overdue. You know, changes of this magnitude to weapons.
Okay, I mean, like season 4 wasn't lacking in the end. By the end of it, but
dude, they changed.
I know. Okay, hold on. This magnitude. What kind of magnitude? Like, you know,
the magnitude where every single weapon is going to get an overclock, which has the potential of changing its meta, right? Like, I mean, we got 2 overclocks, kind of, in a way, in like recent periods, right?
Yeah. Kind of.
So what happened to double barrel might happen to like everything.
That'd be crazy.
It will be. I look forward to it. Thank you all for watching. If you got this far, good on you. You're a real one.
Oh, do we want to talk about that?
What?
Background footage.
I guess we can if you got this far. You
well,
might as
I've noticed that it's been really, really choppy.
Oh yeah.
It's been really bad. So if it's actually made it worse, then we need to know. I mean, I might be able to like clarify that for myself just looking at it, but still, it seems pretty bad. But if you did get this far, then please tell us, because that tells us that it might be working. The problem is I really like the format, like the way it looks, and I really want it to work. The footage just looks like shit for some reason. But maybe it won't. I don't know. Sometimes some magic happens. Like very often when I'm streaming, for example, like on OBS, it looks like shit. But this is different. I'm like recording. I probably shouldn't say how I'm doing it and make us seem much less professional than we are. Sorry, it make us seem as unprofessional as we are.
That's why I think at this part of the video we got like 5 people. Comment below if you're one of those 5 people. But yeah. You can do whatever the hell you want at this point.
If you enjoyed this video, well done. And if you want to stand to everything to Deep Rock and Road Core, please make sure. Well, hold on, that's not how I meant to do it. Oh, whatever. Like, subscribe. Genuinely, I hope you did enjoy. Genuinely, and thank you as always for watching, and liking, and subscribing, and for seeing us next time. I hope we will see you next time. On Battle Vision.
Goodbye.
Bye.